Here's a number most agency owners never actually calculated. Your team spent 20 to 30 minutes writing a single candidate submission, executive summary, profile, whatever you call it today, by hand every time. Now, multiply that by every candidate every week across every desk. That's not an admin problem. That's a throughput problem. And it's quietly capping your revenue. Most people think the presentation is where the value gets created. It's not. The value is created on the call that you have with the candidate. When your consultant actually understood the candidate, the presentation is just the packaging. But right now, your consultants are spending their most valuable time packaging up that content, not selling. We actually surveyed our users on this exact bottleneck. Before CoRecruit, most of them were spending like 20 to 30 minutes per presentation. After, that dropped to less than 10 minutes. And for most of them, actually under 5. That's roughly a 75% reduction on the time it actually took them to create that profile. Here's what actually happens under the hood and why this matters for data quality, not just speed. When a presentation is written from memory, hours after the call, 2 things go wrong. Number 1, detail gets lost. The specific reason the candidate is open to moving, exact compensation expectations, the things they said they would win the client over with, it fades. And number 2, your ATS ends up with a summary of the data, thin notes, half filled in fields, and that compounds over time. Because the next consultant on your team who touches that record is now working off of bad data or just incomplete data. AI changes that sequence. The call gets recorded and transcribed automatically no matter what channel they're speaking to that candidate or client from, including phone calls, which is where most recruiters actually have their conversations. The first draft of that presentation is automatically generated from what was said on the call, not the consultant's half-remembered context. And then it pushes directly back into your ATS, whether that's Bullhorn, Job Adder, LockSoak, without anyone copying and pasting anything. So the presentation gets faster and the underlying data gets better. And usually those trade off against each other. Here they don't. This isn't theoretical. O&F, who's a partner at a search firm, put it simply. Full text transcripts of every call, synced to the ATS, notes taken with 0 effort, and all this done within 3 minutes of hanging up. Joanna, who's also an owner, told us that she saves 30 minutes on her executive summary process and another 10 minutes briefing candidates per candidate. And across our user base, when we asked which single thing improves the most after switching, about 60% pointed to the candidate presentation speed. That was the number 1 answer across our thousands of customers today. That's the pattern. That presentation they're creating is a bottleneck that almost everyone feels, but few have ever truly measured. Let's make it concrete for the person running their business. If a consultant on your team reclaims 20 minutes per presentation they're putting together, and they're producing a few presentations a day, right? Between executive summaries, profiles, maybe that's a reference document, maybe that's an intake form. That's hours back every single week. Our data shows 73% of users save more than 4 hours a week. Nearly 1 in 5 save 10 plus. The question isn't, what's that time worth? The question is what your team does with it. Because when we asked our customer base, the top answer wasn't going home early. It was building stronger client relationships and sourcing more candidates. The saved hours go straight back into revenue generating work. So here's the reframe I'd leave you with. Faster candidate client presentations aren't about doing the same job quicker. They're about moving the best people off packaging information and back to what's actually working to close those placements, while your ATS quietly gets more accurate in the background. That's the difference between AI that saves you minutes and AI that changes your economics. If you want to see what this looks like on your own call, book a demo with the link below.